New episode today. We got my guy, Property by Kazi. Known him for a long time, 15 years. He used to come rave with us when he was like 16. So yeah, new episode dropping. Hope you like these ones. Got my guy. What's going on, man? Property by Kazi.
Yeah, no, we do.
How many years have we known each other now?
Bro, from... I couldn't even tell you, bro, but it's from... Oh,
over
I was... 100% over 10. I was because I've known you from when I was having to sneak into Departure Lounge when I was 16. So that's that means it's 15 at a minimum.
He used to come raving. Him, his big cousin, he used to come raving with us back in the day.
That's so bad.
Back in the day, these times I used to do. How old was I then? I was like 21. I was doing dances in Departure Market Bar for somebody. Yeah, back in the day. And you had the long hair back then.
Yeah. No, the long hair.
Man wasn't your tip, Wes. The real sweet boy look. You get me? So yeah, bro, I had to get you on the channel. Funny enough, yeah. Did I bump into you the other day?
Palace Park. Where everyone was.
Everyone
You bumped
was.
into everyone there.
Fam, I saw so much people I ain't seen in years, so we bumped into each other in the park. I was talking about property stuff. So I was saying, yeah, I need you on the channel because obviously before I had Moyes, Mr. Staff, and I had Farid on the channel. And I was just like, rah, I should have had Kaz on that day. And the funniest thing, yeah, I was watching my man CEO Cast the other day, and I was like, shit. Like, imagine I thought about this, and next minute I see you on the channel. I was like, fuck it. That was like, we both have similar minds. That I was laughing because remember the other day when some random fake page comment was commenting in the comments and say, raw, fake CEO Cast. And I was laughing, just thinking to myself, our thing is totally different because this is more, it's me training and it's training with a man them. So every single person that you've seen so far, I actually have a personal relationship with. I've known for, you know what I mean? Yeah, for a minute. So it's not like the other day someone reached out to me about coming on the channel, and the reason why they replied, no offense to them if they see this, the reason why they replied to that message, one, you ain't got a picture on your page, so I can't see your face. I like to put a face to, you know what I mean, to the person I'm talking to. Two, everyone I have on my page, I've kind of got a natural rapport with, because it's not like, rah, I've messaged a man and said, rah, I've seen Kaz face to face, said, rah, bro, we ain't bumped into each other time, boom, 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 yeah, boom, you see the YouTube. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's different. So that's the reason why I haven't replied back to that. So if you see this, you reply back and we might chat about it, but show me your proper page with your face, please. So yeah, I just thought that day when we done that episode, I was like, shit, you should be on this, because how many years have you been doing the property thing?
I've been doing it for like the better part of 8 years now, man. So it's been I've gone kind of full circle with everything. So whether that's the rent to rent stuff, whether that's buying, selling, developments, like buy, like rent, refinance, renovate, etc. Kind of
about the rent
of everything
stuff, yeah. So in my comments, people were asking me to get the man them to explain that a bit more in depth, because obviously the last 2 property episodes with the other man them I know from back in the day, they were talking about it, but they didn't go.
Didn't really expand.
Yeah, they didn't expand on it. So
like the model a bit. So rent to rent effectively is when you rent a property from a landlord, so you don't have to buy it. You're renting it. You rent it either as like a corporate or professional let. So
how many years do you usually put on a contract? Is it only 1 year or 4, 5?
There's different models. Most people, they're generally longer term contracts, and the reason being is you invest in the property somewhat at the beginning, so you need to be able to recuperate that investment. So generally it's like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, because Farid, when I was training Farid before, he was like, he rents properties on average of 5 years, and I was just like, I was thinking why, but now you said that, it makes sense.
So effectively, imagine you went to go and see a property, and let's say we took an area that we know like Croydon, where your typical 3-bedroom, 2 reception room house is maybe £1,500 a month. You could go and rent that property from the landlord. you could then turn that property into a HMO.
Yeah.
So like a house of multiple occupancy, so multiple rooms. So have 5 rooms with each of the reception rooms as a room, and maybe rent each of those rooms out for £600. That gives you a gross rent of 3,000. By the time you pay your bills, maybe £100 per room for bills. That means that's 2,500. So your net profit on that property is £1,000 a month. Now obviously there's things to take into account, like the property being empty, which is voids and repairs, depending on what you've got worked out with the landlord, and also an initial setup cost to make sure it's a compliant HMO. But once you've paid all that back, you could potentially be making £1,000 a month. Now, most people that go out and buy a property, say you buy it with a 25% deposit, you was to buy that same house, you're having to put in maybe £100,000, and by the time you take out your mortgage versus the rental income, you might only be making £700, £800 or £500, for example. So effectively, it's a really good way to get into property from a cash flow perspective. And not have the high barriers to entry of capital as well.
So you probably need to, let's say like something like that, you probably need to get with between 5 to 10k.
Yeah, something like that can get you started. I think what you need to bear in mind is it's almost like an investment strategy though. So when you're doing it, let's say to set up that property costs you that 5k and you're making £1,000 a month. That means you make that money back after 5 months, but really then that means you can only go and get another property after another 5 months when you've got that. So maybe after 10 months. So in terms of your life cycle of how long, depending on how much money you've got at the beginning, will depend on how quickly you could grow that business model.
Someone, let's say, like had like 15 to 20 years, started with like 4 properties.
Start with 4 every year, take on another 4 and go from there.
Or even they might be able to do it faster, because like remember you said 5k within 5 months. If they were making that same rate,
and then they start making that back, and after you've got the first 4, if they were all really great properties or making you £1,000 a month, after you've got that first 4, that's £4,000 a month profit. If you're saying I don't need a salary at this point, I want to plumb that into the business, you can then start taking on 1 a month and you know, do loads. So and it just depends.
At the end of the year, you could probably end up with like 15.
I mean, it just depends on how it goes. I think the downside, not the downside, but the difficult side of that market is actually the pitch. It's because it's got lower barriers to entry. It's a much more competitive market because it's a lot easier to raise the £5,000 than it is to raise the 50 or 100. So if there's loads of people doing it, naturally there's loads of people you're competing against. When you're picking up that phone to the agent saying, yeah, I want to rent a property on a corporate let for 5 years, you got 10 other people making that same phone call. So like might push the price up a little bit, might make it harder to secure those properties. But if you've got a good pitch, if you're confident, if you're good at sales, it's definitely something where people can excel in.
Then from rent to rent, what do you progress to?
So it depends on, like when people tell me like, oh guys, like I want to get into property, like my first question is why? Because if you don't know your why, it's difficult to really kind of find a focus. So are you looking to, like, if you've got a certain amount of capital, are you looking to grow that? So you're looking at capital appreciation, or are you saying, you know what I want is an easy life, so I want like income, which like in the property space we'd call, like, we'd quantify it by the yield on like the return on your rentals. So firstly I'd say, like, what are you looking at? Because if you're looking at income, probably buy-to-lets is a good way to start. You could go from buy-to-lets, or they could be sort of HMO buy-to-lets, where you get a higher rate of return, but you've got slightly more risk and slightly more work because you've got more tenants within the one property.
Okay. So now fast forward to 2021. During the lockdown, did you have any rent-to-rent properties?
So I did. I actually had this, my big PT's not even talking me through my exercise. No, I'm not a gym bro.
No, I'm gonna show you.
Well, what am I doing here?
So basically, chest up, a bit higher.
A bit higher, yeah.
A bit higher up.
Yeah.
Grab the dumbbell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna start off with the arms forward that way.
This.
Then you're gonna roll upwards and twist upwards. Right there. Good. Give me 10 of those.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, rent-to-rent wise,
Yeah.
I did have a rent-to-rent business that I was a co-founder of, started in 2015.
Yeah.
As of the end of 2020, I actually sold my shares in the business.
Yeah.
It was a hard time for rent-to-rent.
Yeah.
Typically because, in a pandemic, people are not naturally wanting to share.
Yeah.
So, demand for a HMO business, or HMOs in general, did dip slightly.
Yeah,
also, people, in the shared accommodation were some of the hardest hit people through the pandemic, because they're in like frontline services like customer service, the theatre industries, entertainment, etc. and naturally people just don't want to share in the pandemic. So
also like with Farid, for instance, he was saying that a lot of people he had on rent to rent, like they tend to be people who were from Europe originally. So especially with the Brexit issue and all of that, a lot of people dipped back home, you know what I mean? So it was like, yeah, from the students to people who work like in places like Costa and all of that, they were just like, you know what, there's no point staying here. So they dipped back home. So it was like a lot of properties ended up being empty, and people who do Airbnb as well. So like during the periods where there's gaps, he might Airbnb some properties, and he was like, yeah, the same issue as well.
Yeah, and even with that, with supply and demand, all of the properties that were on Airbnb, that there was no Airbnb market, put them on the long-term rental market. So you've now got an influx of supply coming in. With that oversupply, with these really nice properties, because they're charging a high premium for them typically, means that rent prices in general dip slightly, or people have more choice. So yeah, the HMO market and just the rental market as a whole, you know, were quite difficult during lockdown, during the COVID period.
Okay, that's a madness. So basically everyone's just kind of taking whatever they could just to keep things
everyone was kind of shuffling. For me, like luckily I've got like a mixed portfolio, so I've got a mixture of commercial units as well as HMOs, as well as sort of more high-end single lets. So because of that, like during the period, having a diversified portfolio is, you know, is what helped me out to be okay. Why does it look so much smoother when you do it?
In regards to now, how many properties do you actually own, and how many do you own outright?
So I don't own any properties outright. Reason being is I would never really want to own a property outright, because
start the other way. So
or start this way and then go okay, and this way. I would never really want to own a property outright. Reason being is like London property prices, we're averaging about 450,000. With prices averaging 450,000, £450,000 being in a property, it sounds great, you own a property, but what's that money doing for you? It's not working, it's not making you any money apart from your income, which you can make anyway. So the way I would look at something like that is, if I could have £450,000 in a property and I'm renting that property out for £1,300 a month, if I go and get a mortgage on that property for 75% of the loan to value, which is your typical buy to let amount, I'm now going to release £325,000. In my mind, that I'll have to pay interest on that property of maybe £800, £900 a month, so £12,000 a year, let's just say, just to round it up. Can I make more than £12,000 off £335,000 in a year? And that's the way I look at money. That, you know, I'd rather have the money now to make money off, because I believe in my ability to invest. If I was somebody who was just very passive, just said, okay, you know what, I just want my returns, I don't want any stress, and I would get owning properties outright. But for me, that's not really a goal of mine.
When we were talking to was it Moise last time, the first property, he was saying something similar. He'd got that when he was, so not too long after we left college, when he was 21, and I think he said he took out money from the property to get into doing
and it's all about because if I was to leave all the money in my first property, when you ask like how many properties do I own, I'd probably still only own that one, because all my efforts would be going into paying back that one property. Whereas that's the great thing about property, and that the fact that, you know, long term, when we look at it outwardly, London wise, prices have only gone up. There'll be little dips here and there for a month, maybe a year at times, but generally speaking they go up. So people often say, oh, when's the best time to buy? And for me, the best time to buy is always now. Like, just buy now and buy smart, and long term, you know, whether or not it's going to go up. And it's the kind of the principle of emptying a bucket. Like, you know, you go, you take all the money out you can, and you just leave that property sitting there giving you income. In 3-4 years time, you just go and have a look in the bucket, you see, oh, I've got some equity in it, let me take it out and go and buy another property. So that's that. That's basically it for me, man.
Do you think long term you're going to go into getting land and building properties from scratch?
So I've done a ground up development before. I've done, like I said, like in property, I've done like what's called like airspace developments, done basements, done commercial to residential conversions, done a new build, done refurbs. But for me, what I'm doing at the moment, which is converting like single dwellings into multiple flats, or just straightforward refurbs, I'm comfortable with them. The return on investment that I'm getting is really good. So even when people are saying, oh, I've got this land deal or I've got whatever, you need a lot more capital to put into them, and they're a lot more risk. And my background's in economics. I'm all about risk and return. If I can get a better return with less risk, bro, I'm there all day. Like, you're not seeing me taking more risk for less.
What uni did you go to?
So I went to Brunel to start with.
Party boy uni.
Bro, and I dropped out. No, I went to Brunel. Brunel was like, it was a vibe.
Party boy uni.
Yeah, no, it was.
Party boy uni.
But to be fair, I wasn't like, you know, when you go uni, like, and I think at the time when I go uni, it was like, for my parents that I'm going uni, it wasn't really the right time. So I wasn't even really involved in the uni experience. Like a lot of people will be like, you're the same age as me, you weren't at Brunel, but I was just kind of chilling. It wasn't really for me. I was like, you know, do you know what I mean? Even though it's London still, I was still back in South, like every other day, if not every day. It just weren't for me. Ended up like failing, dropped out. But then it was something that I wanted to do, so ended up going back to South Bank, like more local, couple years after.
I studied sport and exercise science. So originally I dropped out in 07, then I went back in 2014. And actually finished my degree in 2017. So yeah, funny enough you said South Bank. Why do you think you went there? Accessibility?
Yeah, it was just local. Like I knew what I wanted to do.
Literally same here.
But at the same time, which way? This way or this way?
That way.
This way, yeah. Like I knew what I wanted to do. But at the same time, I was already starting business, so I didn't want to travel anywhere far. At that point in time, it was just all about the degree. I didn't want the university experience. I didn't want to really be having like university conversation. I just wanted to be in and out, go to my lectures, and come home and get back to work and get back to making money.
Bro, spot on. You know why me and me and Wes are laughing? Hey Wes, is that what you said when you said you're gonna go back to?
Yeah, bro. To do, that's why I'm going to LS for you, bro. Like
same thing. Because everyone was like, I'll give you an example. So imagine, remember back in there, I used to bang out the raves all the time, bang out the events. So in 09, stopped them. I ghosted. I was working doors. No one used to see me out. The only time you probably used to see me was anytime your cousin did City Love. Bank holiday, Sunday.
That's it. That's the only
that was the only day you would see me out. Literally every bank holiday Sunday when they had an event, that's when I'll come out. So I remember when I went back in 2014, the lecturers were saying, a couple people who work in the uni now, they remember you from back in the day. They were like, used to have the sickest parties, then you just disappeared. What happened to you? I said, it's not what happened to me. I just went into the shadows, just kept quiet. Then they were like, yeah, you were one of the best basketball players in the uni and blah blah blah. We never see you in the sports hall. Why? Like the coach as well was one of my ex-teammates, so he was like always asking about me and asking a couple men who were in my class who were in the basketball team, why is my man not coming to play? And I was like, I've come back to uni to just focus, study, not mix. I think in the 3 years I went there, I didn't hang in the common room once.
I didn't even know there was a common room.
Fam, I used to walk through it.
I didn't even know there was a common room. That's what's so bad. Genuinely, bro, it was, I don't know if there's a cafeteria there. I don't know. It was
I used to
lecture. Maybe a food shop, library if needs be at the time, but it was in and out.
Lecture, food shop, library, LRC. I didn't mix with no one. I just literally was in and out. Like some days I'll drive my car if I knew that I had like a 2-hour lecture. I'll park in Elephant Castle Shopping Centre across the road. You get me? I'll tell the lecturer, I've got an emergency. Cut out.
You know there used to be a mad place you could park for free without going into congestion charge.
For real?
Like, so when you come around the roundabout, you're going back towards like Bagel King. Like when you're coming around there, you used to be able to take the left. So it takes you into congestion charge. But it's not, you don't go through none of the cameras. There was a random left, like up into some flats. That's where we all used to park. Then just, you know, like, it was like second year. I just see a bollard. That changed my life. I ended up getting a bike because I was like, I was used to drive because driving was what made it so convenient. Just in and out to uni, not having to do nothing.
I love just having that. I could get back home. I think 10,
basically
10
was home.
minutes.
Like I was home. Like I go there and whatever I had to do for the day. And I think that's kind of the thing about uni, I think, or with anything, like it has to be the right time for you, because if you're doing something but your heart's not in it, your head's not in it, whatever else it is, like to actually get the results you need, it's difficult, right?
It's jokes though, because I remember, like, even like I said before, I said it on one episode, when I went back, I didn't tell my mum, I didn't tell no one. I just went that quiet. Because I was saying to them, you know what it is, like, it's not even being funny, I'm just one of those people, like, I appreciate people's praise and accolades, but it doesn't make no difference to me, bro. Because you know it is. I've always been since a child, yeah. I've always been so self-assured that any praise or any put down is the same to me. So
you didn't not tell people because of like a pressure or anything, or you weren't really.
You know what it is, yeah. I come from one of those families that they're very, very degree. Everything is based on a degree. Your whole self-worth is based on a degree. So it's like competition, innit? As a kid, I grew up in Nigeria originally, and my mom used to put me onto my year group all the time. But I used to do those. At the end of the year, there was an exam called a double promotion, but I would always ace it. My mom was like, "Nah, like you're small, stay in your age group," because I was tiny. So she's like, "Stay in your age group." I'm like, "No, I wanna, I wanna get out of school." She's like, "Why are you such in a hurry to finish school?" Like my whole plan was, if I'd stayed in Nigeria, my whole plan was to finish secondary school by 13, because I hated school with a passion. I proper hated school. So she used to be baffled and like, why you was trying to take double promotion and accelerate. So I remember like going back to uni now. It's a thing that anytime one of my cousins gets a good grade in GCSEs or A levels, or someone phones and their mum will phone my aunt and my aunt will phone my mum and they'll all be bragging on the phone and blah blah blah. So I was just like, I don't want to be in the mix of that. Just went quietly.
Do you think like with your that degree, were you still going for like, were you going for you, or did you feel like you were going for your parents?
I feel like it was for me at the time. Then when I got halfway through, I was like, oh, why am I here again? Like I actually know what I want to do now, but I'm like, you know what? You're already in here, don't fail twice. Push through. No. You know what I mean? And at the same time, it's kind of like a gift from my mum, because my little brother died in 04. So it's like my little brother's dead. I mean, your only son remaining. So it's a thing that you want something to brag in it. Like that's what makes you happy in it. So I'm like, you know what? I'll do one thing to proper make you happy. But I said, right, this ain't gonna define me. Like I know, like I've kind of always known where I was heading, but I'm like, it might take me now, it might take me tomorrow, it might take me till I'm 40, but if I get there, once I'm there, my degree or whatever it is not gonna mean nothing, because I would have hit my own personal target. So regardless of what you lot think, when I'm able to look after the majority of the family, they're not gonna care about what my degree was. They're gonna be like, right, my man just
gone out there and done it. But that's where life's good, and I don't know, like it kind of just says it's good to be good, like because you did that not necessarily for yourself, but then, or for me personally, and what I found is even when I'm doing stuff that's not for myself, life's just got a funny way of working out. So I look at my degree and I'm like, oh, I've never worked in the field that I studied, but still a lot of the stuff and the skill sets that I picked up through doing it have helped me elevate in what I'm doing. And that's why I was saying it's funny how life works out, because you thought, oh, like, or we thought, oh, we're just doing it, you know what I mean, to make our parents happy. But then long term, not actually realizing what was going to make them happy is going to help us elevate as well in our individual fields. Because
the thing is, like even going back to that, what uni taught me, like I said before, was time management and using my time efficiently. Where before going back to uni, if I had to do like say 10 hours of PT, I'll be thinking to myself, oh, this is long. But when you're uni, bro, you could get to South Bank at 9. Your lectures could finish at 5:30. By the time your lectures finish, you ain't going home. You're going to that library till 10. So you've given away literally 13 hours of your life to uni, and you paid for it. Now I can't complain about 10 hours of my life that someone's paid for. It's the reverse, you know what I mean? So now me doing 10 hours to something that I enjoy, this feels like a breeze. You know what I mean? Because when you're not stressing about, I need to go into the office by this time, or I need to be, life just feels like it's floating nicely, you know what I mean? Because everything's on your own. Like when I built this during the lockdown, bro, the hours I was putting in, but I didn't care. Like couple couple of my friends were like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're just working day and night." I was like, "Bro, this is a breeze to me." I was like, what do I do? Wake up in the morning, shower, and literally just open this door, and I'm here. So I was like, I'll be here for 6 hours. I'll stop at 12, go take like a 2-hour nap. 2 o'clock, the man them come. I'll train 2 till 4, then 4, 6, 7, 8. Train a whole bunch of people. Then 8 o'clock, the rest of the men them come and train. I'm taking a nap. I'm like, when they're about to leave, I tell one of the men them knock my door, wake me up. I come, shut the door.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's like creating a lifestyle, creating what it is that you want.
It just made things a lot easier for me, things a lot simpler for me, and I didn't mind at all. But like I said, a lot of that organisation and skill set comes from university. Yeah, like, even though I'm not a believer of you have to get to uni to find out what you want to be or blah blah blah, but that was the main benefit. Even though like my degree doesn't really have any true impact, to tiny bits where it's helped me in training, where obviously because I'm a sports scientist, like when it comes to training people, there's certain things that I pick up and I'm just like, oh shit, I learned that in biomechanics. But on the whole, I was still a PT before going back. So
you had the grades, but it's just like, it's just adding. Like for me, even like I've never like, well, I worked in finance for about what, like 6 months, if that. Like even though my background is economics. But like off doing economics and doing like business studies, and then when I'm looking at business opportunities, whether it's supply and demand, whether it's like doing SWOT analysis, I'll just find myself using stuff, and then like you said, also just the organization of actually being able to begin and end the like a process to saying like, do you know what, I've got to finish this.